The midday heat hung over Scottsdale, Arizona, in shimmering waves, casting a glaze across the desert pavement outside the glass-front showroom of Orion Lux Motors. Expensive vehicles lined the dealership lot, polished to mirror perfection. The chrome accents sparkled under the relentless sun, drawing curious glances from passing traffic. But the man stepping out of the nondescript gray SUV at the rear of the building didn't match the scene. Malcolm Rhodes shut the door with quiet finality and adjusted the sleeves of his plain hoodie. No designer logos. No luxury watch. Just an easy, worn-and-look, hoodie, jeans, and sneakers that had seen better days. The point wasn't to impress. In fact, it was quite the opposite. Malcolm had acquired Orion Lux Motors 3 weeks ago, making it his flagship dealership among a network of investments across the Southwest. But rather than announcing himself with a press release or a grand entrance, he chose something far more revealing: anonymity. He approached the main entrance from the back, bypassing the valet, the lineup of Lamborghinis and McLarens, and the front-row parking reserved for elite clientele. As he neared the showroom, he noticed a handful of employees near the reception area. One, a middle-aged woman in a sharply tailored navy blazer, seemed to command attention. Her clipboard was clutched like a baton, her heels clicking in rhythmic dominance. She was poised, professional, and clearly in charge. The air conditioning washed over him the moment he stepped inside, replacing desert heat with a cool, faint scent of new leather and wax. The woman noticed him immediately. Her eyes skimmed over the hoodie and jeans, a flash of hesitation crossing her face before she composed herself into a polite smile. "Good afternoon," she greeted, her tone clipped and efficient. "Can I help you with something?" Malcolm smiled, nonchalant. "Just looking around." Her gaze swept him again, this time slower, more appraising. "Are you in the market for a vehicle today?" she asked, her words dipped in gentle doubt. "Something like that," he replied, his hands in his pockets. The woman, her name tag read Dana Walsh, Sales Manager, narrowed her eyes ever so slightly. "Most of our inventory requires pre-qualification," she said. "We cater to a very specific clientele." Malcolm raised an eyebrow. "Is that right?" Dana nodded, clearly trying to stay composed. "If you'd like, I can direct you to a dealership nearby that might better suit your needs. They specialize in pre-owned vehicles, great for first-time buyers." Malcolm smiled again, this time thinner. "And what makes you think I'm not qualified for something here?" Dana hesitated, not long, but enough to register. "I'm just trying to save you some time." The moment crackled with tension, though Malcolm remained calm. He let his eyes drift across the showroom, stopping briefly on a silver coupe gleaming under the lights. "Nice car," he said, approaching it slowly. Dana followed, her heels sharp against the tile. "Perhaps once you're ready to make a more serious inquiry, we can schedule a consultation. But for now, I'll have to ask you not to touch the vehicles." Malcolm stepped back with a quiet nod. "Fair enough. Why don't you show me what you'd recommend for someone like me?" Dana's eyebrows lifted at the challenge. "Of course," she said, her smile freezing into place. "I'll be right back." He watched her walk off briskly, clipboard bouncing slightly against her hip. Around the room, conversations resumed, muffled murmurs behind glass and chrome, but a few eyes remained fixed on Malcolm, curiosity stirring beneath the surface. When Dana returned, she handed him a printout. The cars listed were dependable, older, and modest. None of them were anywhere near the price tags Orion was known for. "These might be more appropriate for your situation," Dana offered, her tone shifting into polite condescension. "My situation?" Malcolm echoed, his expression unreadable. Dana nodded. "Practical, economical, reliable. All excellent choices for starting out." He folded the paper and slid it into his pocket. "Appreciate the effort." Dana shifted, folding her arms tightly. "Listen, I'm just being realistic with you. Our cars aren't for everyone. This showroom caters to clients who what?" Malcolm asked, his voice calm. "Wear suits." She blinked. "I've been doing this a long time. I can usually tell when someone's out of their depth." Malcolm tilted his head. "Interesting. I just don't want you to waste your time," Dana added, clearly trying to wrap up the conversation. "Well," he said, glancing at the coupe again, "how about this? Let me speak to the owner. Think we can make that happen?" Dana let out a short, clipped laugh. "The owner? They're not available for casual drop-ins. That's not how this works." "Maybe give them a call," Malcolm said, still smiling. "Let them know I'm here. I think they'd want to meet me." Dana's smile vanished. "Look, sir, I have other clients to assist. If you're serious, you can schedule an appointment. Otherwise, Malcolm interrupted, voice still calm, but laced now with undeniable steel. Otherwise, I'll have to ask you to leave, she said, lifting her chin slightly. Malcolm exhaled slowly, then reached into his hoodie pocket. All right, he said, pulling out his phone. I'll call them myself. Dana blinked. What? He lifted the phone to his ear, dialing. Hey, it's me. Yeah, I'm at Orion. Little mix-up. Mind swinging by. Dana watched, frozen in place. A few employees nearby began to pause mid-task, their eyes flicking toward the unfolding scene. They'll be here shortly, Malcolm said, slipping his phone back in his pocket. Who did you call? Dana asked, her voice quieter now. Malcolm didn't answer. Instead, he turned his attention to the front doors. Minutes passed. The air grew dense with anticipation. Employees whispered behind cupped hands. Dana stared toward the entrance, tension radiating from her shoulders. Then the doors opened. A tall man in a tailored navy suit entered, his stride brisk and confident. He spotted Malcolm immediately. Mr. Rhodes, he said with a broad smile, extending a hand. Glad you called. Everything all right? Just fine, Alex, Malcolm said, shaking his hand. Dana's mouth fell slightly open. Alex glanced at her, his smile cooling. Dana, I see you've met Mr. Malcolm Rhodes. I didn't realize, she stammered. That he's the new owner? Alex finished, glancing between the two. I'm guessing that's clear now. Dana stood there, stunned. Malcolm nodded. It's fine, Alex. We got off on the wrong foot. Mr. Rhodes, Dana began, her voice shaking. I am so sorry. I didn't know. Didn't know someone like me could own a place like this? Malcolm asked gently. She looked away. If I weren't the owner, he continued, would I have walked out of here today with any respect at all? Dana had no answer. Let's gather everyone, Malcolm said, turning to Alex. We've got some things to talk about. 15 minutes later, the staff of Orion Lux Motors sat in the glass-walled conference room. Tension was thick in the air. Dana sat at the far end, her usual sharpness dulled by embarrassment. Malcolm stood at the head of the table, composed, commanding. For those who don't know, he began, my name is Malcolm Rhodes. I bought this dealership last month. A few employees shifted in their seats, surprise written on their faces. I came today dressed the way I did for a reason. I wanted to see how this place really operated when no one knew who I was. He paused, his voice tightening. What I saw disappointed me. Dana's face burned as she looked down. I wasn't judged by my interest or by my questions. I was judged by what I wore, by what someone thought I couldn't afford. And that's a problem. He let the silence hang. This place is supposed to represent excellence. But that can't just be about the cars we sell. It has to be about the way we treat people. Every person who walks through that door deserves respect, not assumptions. A young salesman raised his hand. Mr. Rhodes, sometimes we think we're helping. We try to read people. We mean well, but Malcolm nodded. But intent doesn't erase impact. He turned to Dana. Dana, he said gently, do you want to say anything? She looked up, her voice small. I made a mistake. I judged you, and I was wrong. I'm sorry. Thank you for saying that, Malcolm replied. But this isn't just about you. This is about a culture. And we're going to change that starting now. He outlined new protocols, customer-first service, bias training, mandatory inclusion workshops. This place is going to reflect the values I believe in. Integrity, respect, fairness. And then, quietly, he added, if that doesn't work for you, this isn't the dealership for you. No one spoke. Malcolm gave a small nod. Good. Then let's do better. As the team filed out, Dana lingered by the door. She approached Malcolm quietly. I really do want to make this right, she said. Actions speak louder, Malcolm replied. But I believe in second chances. Let's see what you do with it. When she walked away, Alex stepped beside him. Well, he said with a wry grin, you definitely made an entrance. Malcolm chuckled. That wasn't the plan. But maybe it was what they needed. They stepped back into the showroom. Outside, the sun was beginning to dip toward the horizon, casting long reflections on the polished hoods of 100 luxury cars. The place gleamed. But this time, so did something else, possibility. Malcolm wasn't just running a dealership. He was building a standard. And he was just getting started.